Hello, everyone, and welcome to this latest webinar from OMDIA brought to you by Informatech. My name is Alan Tatara, Associate Director of the OMDIA webinar team, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. Today's topic is helping telcos to monetize the smart home. Our panel will discuss practical ways for telcos to monetize smart home services and explore some innovative use cases to tap into hidden revenues. Our webinar is co-presented by OMDIA and our partner, Radisys. So before we get started, let me just highlight some of the features available for you on the webinar. So the console that you're looking at, it is completely customizable. So feel free to open, close, move, or resize any of the windows and arrange the console any way you please. Now, if you look at the bottom of your console, you're going to see a number of buttons. We call these widgets. So make sure you check these out, especially the resource list widget, because this is where you're going to find additional material about our topic, including the downloadable slides from today's session, as well as other valuable information, including a special report authored by analyst Mariana Zamochik. You can also join in on the conversation via Twitter. Simply click on the little Twitter widget and make sure you follow us using the hashtag #SmartHome. We will have a live Q&A session right after our presentation, so remember to submit your questions or comments at any time by using that Q&A widget that is on the left side of your screen. Now, this webinar is being recorded, and we will send you a link on how you can access the on-demand version within about 24 hours. And if you experience any technical issues, just click on that question mark widget to receive the answers that you seek. All right, so now let me introduce to you our panel. First, leading our discussion is Mariana Zamochik. Mariana is a senior analyst in the Smart Home Services segment at OMDIA. And rounding out our panel, we have Anil Jinguri. Anil is a Regional Vice President of EMEA Sales and Head of Embedded Platforms and Digital Endpoints at Radisys. So welcome to Mariana and Anil. We are honored to have you with us today. So Mariana, let me now pass the controls over to you so we can get started.
Thank you very much, Alan. And good afternoon, everybody. Good morning for some of our part of our audience. I'm Mariana Zamochik. I'm a senior analyst. I cover the smart home space. I've been analyzing trends for over the past 5 years, so I have interesting information for you to share with you today, and I'm going to be talking about some interesting market trends. So in the first slide I have prepared is especially for you. At OMDIA, we carried out different surveys. In this case, we carried out this survey with over 12,000 consumers to try to understand the main smart home adoption trends, looking at different devices and services. So in this question you see here today, we ask consumers to indicate which smart home devices they currently have and which products they would like to buy, what's their intention. So if you see here, the first finding is that the investment in entertainment and home automation currently dominates the smart home scene, with popular devices such as smart TVs, smart media streamers, and AI-enabled smart speakers. The fact actually that 30% of the people actually have a smart speaker and 20% have a smart display shows in a way that voice assistants, known as, for example, Alexa, Google Assistant, or Siri, they have dominated the scene and they are growing. They are making progress at home and they are allowing consumers to create their own smart living experiences. So that's very good news in terms of adoption of smart home devices. However, this question here that I'm sharing with you today also shows something very important, is that the future purchase intention currently revolves around security. And that's an important finding. We see here that the interesting point is that more and more consumers want to improve home security. And what they're doing, they are investing in this type of devices. For example, you see, as I have highlighted here, in the chart, you see smart alarms with professional monitoring services, that's 48%. You see smart locks. You see as well smart cameras with 47%. And you see also smart doorbells. At OMDIA, we believe that the growing consumer awareness and obviously affordability of these solutions In a way, it's going to increase the adoption of smart security solutions. And this, in a way, validates the decision that many service providers are active players in the smart home industry are focusing on this important use case. So that's very, very important to highlight. I'm going to move now into the next question that's part of the same survey. And here you see a perspective from a service line. You see in this question, we ask consumers to indicate which smart home services they have as part of a monthly subscription. So they pay a fee, a regular fee to having access to these services. So we see here that physical security services are a key investment priority at home. This refers to services such as 24/7 professional monitoring and video storage that are also very popular these days. This finding, in a way, correlates with the previous slide that shows that the growing adoption of smart security devices at home, and we see the correlation in terms of services. However, and this is an important point I wanted to point out here, consumers have also placed increased value on cybersecurity services to complement physical security. So we see here that 44% of consumers have indicated that they're interested in buying this type of services for their homes. This is perhaps, in a way, not entirely surprising, because you know that the number of connected devices is increasing exponentially, especially now that during the pandemic, people are spending more and more time at home. So you have more devices, and cybersecurity is an important service. Yeah, the fear of being targeted by hackers, it's important. So cybersecurity services are there to provide a solution. And it's important as well also to look beyond security. So I wanted to highlight here the case of smart home insurance services, that it's another important use case that it's growing, especially in the group of service providers that are interested in monetizing the smart home. This type of service can actually help to reduce all the damage caused by water leaks, for example, by fire, by intruders as well. So you could see these days many service providers with an active role in the smart home space, that they are, like, in a way, partnering with insurance companies. They have decided to go together with renowned and well-known insurers, and they are offering this kind of proposition. But you need to bear in mind as well that this type of insurance companies are, in a way, forward-thinking. They did embrace the smart home. And they have a proactive approach to technology. So together, they are promoting home insurance services that are helping people to obviously increase the safety of their homes with solutions such as leak detectors or smoke detectors, among others. So this is a very important use case. And finally, I wanted to mention the case of emergency response services for seniors that, in a way, want to age at home. Assisted living is the way we know it. It's a niche market. However, it has a very good potential. And I'm going to actually show you in the next slide more about this specific segment. In this question, we ask consumers to indicate which smart health devices they have or they would like to buy. So the first conclusion you see in this slide, that fitness monitoring, it's a key priority among consumers these days. They are willing to invest in smart technologies. In this case, is a wearable. But it's always linked to the smart home proposition. As you can see in many service providers, they are doing that. So it's not surprising to see, obviously, that growing adoption of fitness trackers, for example, because they are broadly available. It's very easy to buy them these days. And in a way, they don't really need any kind of consultative sales approach, unlike other more complex healthcare solutions that they do require advice when buying them. So access is there, it's everywhere. So consumers are embracing, and obviously health consciousness it's an important thing. It's increasing. COVID, it's obviously promoting that as well. So yeah, as I said, it's not surprising to see fitness trackers leading the ranking here. However, the important thing I wanted to share with you today, it's that the future purchase intention of most consumers, according to this survey, actually revolves around devices that were designed to monitor health emergencies. You see here it's 49%. And also devices to track the well-being and whereabouts of our loved ones. Okay, that's 48%. So this validates the point I was making before about the market potential of assisted living, especially for the elderly segment. And as it could be expected, in this survey, younger respondents have prioritized solutions to help them monitor the well-being or location of a family member, while respondents in a different age group, specifically 55 plus age group, they are looking forward to invest more in solutions to monitor their own health and other conditions such as, for example, blood pressure. So at OMDIA, we believe that the pandemic will certainly increase the potential and accelerate the adoption of these devices, as obviously the benefits of assisted living become clearer, and not only necessarily for buyers of these solutions that tend to be family members, but also for the actual users. So that's an important finding out of this question. So this is a summary of all the main findings. And now I wanted to start analyzing different problems and challenges when addressing the smart home space. So I have here more information in regards to a survey we've done, but this is a different survey. This survey, we tried to talk with different service providers that have a role in the smart home space. So we want to analyze their main problems and challenges when addressing the smart home market. So in this question, you see in your screens, we ask service providers to indicate the most important adoption barriers according to their customers. And I repeat, according to their own clients, what do you think are the most important challenges or barriers, okay, for the adoption of smart home services? We see here that cost is a major concern. It's a barrier. Service providers, we know they cannot change the price of smart home devices, but they can actually adjust their business models to minimize all the equipment costs. For example, by offering device financing or hardware lease, or they're often sometimes full subsidy. If the goal, let's say, it's to secure recurring revenues from value-added services. So cost, it's a major concern. We see here 62%. Looking at the second barrier here, we see that as we, in a way, bring more and more gadgets to our lives, the fear of being targeted by hackers, it's high. That's how I was mentioned that before. Cybersecurity, it's an important service to fight against that. But this is an external change that service providers need to tackle, especially with customer education on on security best practices. Okay, they need to work more on that, and also try to help users to understand recent tech innovations in terms of privacy. That would help them to fight against this barrier. Moving on, we see that 46% of respondents have indicated that setup complexity is a key barrier for the adoption of smart home services. It's in a way related to the promotion of a seamless onboarding process that many service providers, especially the most successful ones in this industry, have been, for example, offering video tutorials as a popular tool for self-installation or to fight or to overcome these barriers. Some companies are even offering free professional installation services, obviously for more complex solutions. In addition to this barrier, I want to add here that issues around device interoperability are also part of this barrier. So, for example, you are all aware of the new connectivity protocols such as Matter, it's making lots of noise these days in the smart home industry, and in a way will greatly simplify things for consumers for now on. But it's crucial here, I would say, for service providers that are interested in monetizing the smart home to rely on a trusted solution provider that will be able to support those new protocols, as well as other popular protocols that are a part of the smart home equation. So it's important to try to reduce obviously the onboarding process and to fight against all those interoperability issues that I was mentioning. Continuing with the analysis, we see that the purchase complexity is another important business model limitation these days that requires obviously urgent attention for all market participants. For this, many service providers in the smart home industry are, for example, offering free assessment calls with smart home experts. So you call, you have support, you talk with someone that guides you and teaches you in a way all the different solutions available in the market, how you can access them, and obviously provide support for deployment. So it's important for service providers to help their customers to understand the benefits of the smart home and to obviously know more. Education is key here. And finally, when customers in a way indicate that use cases are not relevant, it means that service providers are disconnected from current consumer trends. And for that, I have an important suggestion that it's actually have a look at the special report I have produced for this webinar on telco smart home strategies. There you will find tons of information, evidence that would support what's really going on in the smart home space. And it will also provide key recommendations on how to succeed in the smart home industry. So again, have a look at this report. I have prepared that with key recommendations for telcos and all the type of service providers interested in monetizing the smart home. Very good. But now I have something that I would like to ask you. I would like you to participate in this poll. This is a question for you to answer. So I would like to know what you think are the main barriers to providing smart home services. So I invite all the audience to participate in this question. You can select all the different options I'm going to mention now. So the first option you can select is uncertain ROI. That's the return over investment. The second option you can select is integration challenges. That means internal security, data privacy, etc. The third option is uncertain market demand. The fourth option, it's a competition from OTT players. That means companies such as Amazon and Google. Or the fifth option would be you don't know or you're not sure about this. So I invite everybody to answer this question, to have because I have interesting information to share. We've carried out several surveys, so I would like to see what the audience has to say about these important barriers for the provisioning of smart home services. So, and also as a quick reminder, if you have questions, please, you have a Q&A window in your screens. Just consider all your questions. We'll try to answer them as much as we can at the end of this session. But let's have a look right now at the main results. Very good. Lots of people submitting their answers. Just give you a few seconds. Very good. So let's analyze the main responses of this. Okay, very good. I was expecting to see ROI, but it's competing with integration challenges. So that's very important. Very important. Very good. So we see here uncertainty with regards to ROI, it's 48%. Integration challenges is also 48%. And third or second place, let's say, uncertainty in terms of the market demand. Competition with OTT players, okay, that's 35%. Interesting results, because what I have now is to share the same question we've carried out, but in a different survey with service providers. So we ask them actually, what are the main challenges? Okay, in these questions, service providers indicated what were the main barriers for the delivery of smart home services. So we see here as well that the main barrier it's raw uncertainty, knowing exactly how to manage costs, serving different and multiple use cases and offering value-added services are all key factors for the creation of a successful business model. So in this case, service providers need to obviously look for affordable smart home platforms that can help them obviously to address different use cases and serve as the foundation for the delivery of smart home services, obviously with high perceived value. The key here is obviously offering value-added services on top of the different devices you're offering. And additionally, I think service providers should not only focus on smart security, but also try to explore other business opportunities in other important areas, such as I was mentioning before, that's smart home insurance, elderly monitoring. So all those areas are important and a key for the smart home proposition, not just the security. I'm not going to deny that security is important, but it's all important for the creation of a good return of all this investment. The second one that most respondents highlighted here, as well as in the previous question, is to overcome internal challenges around integration, security, and data privacy. We've seen that here service providers really need to look for a solution provider with strong credentials in system integration. That's key. You need to trust on a partner that will actually help you to integrate all your business support systems and help you offering a seamless customer experience. So key here is to look for those credentials, as I was mentioning. With regards to market uncertainty, and I'm a bit skeptical about this option because I see loads of evidence, loads of information from our surveys that indicates that actually the demand is growing. We've seen at the very beginning of this webinar, all the survey, the data, it's there. So there is sufficient evidence to shows actually all the growing demand of smart home devices and services. So it's good. The information it's there. So as I said, again, have a look at the report I have produced, and you will have access to more of that data to support what's going on in terms of demand. And the last barrier here, it's an important one. It indicates that many service providers don't know how to actually differentiate from OTT players such as Amazon and Google. The key here is that service providers must, in a way, accept that competing with OTT players is unrealistic, but partnering actually offers a better opportunity, obviously, to increase their value of their propositions, to offer better services, and to strengthen their brand and positioning in the market. So the key here is to partner with these players and try not to compete, because obviously they have their own smart home agenda and they in a way dominate the scene with different solutions, especially smart speakers these days. So it's important to bear in mind that the key moving forward is to partner with them. And as a conclusion for this section, we've seen here that monetizing the smart home is not necessarily straightforward. However, OMDIA's data has shown that there are numerous opportunities for the smart home, especially if service providers are in a way positioned to go to market with the right offering. Okay, so that would be my main conclusion for this section. And now I wanted to move on and try to analyze with you all different options and solutions. And for that, I would like to invite Anil to share with us his view of the smart home space and what his vision for this industry.
Thank you, Mariana. So hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. My name is Anil Jihure, and I'm from Radisys. So Mariana just discussed about the challenges and the opportunities service providers are finding with smart home. And what I want to do is walk you through some of the recommendations and options to address these topics. So we all know, smart home can be complex. And we just heard about some of these examples in the previous slides, dealing with the end-to-end integration of a smart home solution in your network environment, defining the right starter kits and product bundles, and deciding, what use cases are relevant for your end consumers. So, selecting the right system integrator can help you navigate through this journey, right? Find a partner that can assist you with taking the complexity out of the integration part and, can help you making the right solution and product decisions. So we also learned about, some of the up and coming use cases earlier as well. Home security surveillance, obviously being the main one, but there are several other interesting use cases that are on the rise. And so you want to make sure your smart home solution of choice is able to cater to all of them. The last thing you want is, siloed solution for each use case. But if you want to add different use cases that you're not able to then, reuse the, investment and that you've done, right? And that becomes, the ROIs, they're not really, good for that. So adopt a smart home solution that is flexible with a broad set of connectivity options like, Wi-Fi, Zigbee, Bluetooth, for example. And it is also important that the solution embraces, an open device ecosystem, right? Meaning it works with a wide range of devices and vendors from different brands, and that it is validated and tested, by your smart home solution vendor. So this will allow you to use the best-in-class devices of these top brands for the smart home use cases that you select. So, these smart home opportunities are definitely out there, right? So be open to explore new innovative business models, right? Make sure you keep the upfront cost for your consumers, as low as possible by offering some of these, things like, tiered financing models Mariana was just talking about, or, leasing options for the hardware, for example. But the nice thing about deploying your own telco smart home solution is that you're now able to monetize these cloud services as well, right? And I, truly believe that, the data generated by these sensors and devices in smart home is really an untouched and untapped revenue stream for service providers, to look into going forward. And, I will talk about some of these examples and how to monetize this in the upcoming slides. The other thing is, be open to look for new synergistic partnerships with other industry players that can help you broaden your reach and strengthen your go-to-market strategy. And also we'll discuss about, how telcos can partner with security companies, insurance companies, and how some of these partnerships are actually leading to interesting revenue share opportunities for the telcos and service providers.
Sorry, I was on mute. Very good, Anil. So I would like to analyze with you now all the different deployment applications you were mentioning. So it would be interesting to see your view in terms of those use cases.
Yep. Thanks, Mariana. Yeah, so if you can go to the next slide. So yeah, in these next slides, what I want to do is walk you through some of these prominent smart home use cases and explain how telcos can monetize them, right? So the first one, obviously, security, surveillance, intrusion detection. As I mentioned before, and Mariana mentioned, this is by far the most popular use case globally. But what are the monetization options telcos have with this use case? Besides offering, your basic smart home security package with your surveillance cameras and, door and motion sensors, as a telco, you can also now start to look at monetizing, your cloud video storage by offering monthly subscription plans for storing the consumer surveillance videos. Looking at, tiered offerings like, 15 days or 30 days video storage subscription plans. And, you've even seen examples of telcos offering, free devices or free video camera if a consumer signs up for a monthly plan. But also telcos can, on top of that, start building on, offering, for example, 24-hour monitoring services on top of the basic security offering for, additional monthly fees. But also by partnering, with professional monitoring or security companies, right? You can even offer like 24/7 armed response services in case of an an event, for example. And this is a use case, a good example where telcos can explore revenue share opportunities with these security companies as well. And there's actually several case studies out there with telcos and security companies that are doing this pretty successfully already. So energy management I want to talk about now is, of course, an important global topic, and is a responsibility, for all of us, right? So, and smart energy management as part of smart home can help reduce, energy waste and lower energy bills. And some studies even show that by utilizing smart energy solutions, consumers can achieve significant energy savings. And we've all seen these smart thermostat examples, but there's so much more you can do with smart energy. And it starts with the basics of getting your smart plugs and of course your smart lights and the app to control these devices. And then you can start creating rule settings, right? For example, if I leave home, adjust my lights or turn off certain devices, or even close my shutters or curtains automatically during a warm or sunny day, right, to lower my AC usage. But smart home, or smart energy, really becomes interesting if you're able to get insight into your holistic, energy consumption and are able to monitor and track it, right? So, if in your home, what devices are there that are, consuming the most energies. And, with a smart home platform, you can get this data. And you can monetize this by, for example, providing energy data analytics to your customers, for example, and by looking at energy trends over time, you can even proactively identify gradual wear of some of these home appliances or other equipment, and you usually would not find that out after a month when an appliance breaks down that it's has been consuming a lot more energy than normal. So, having all of this data in a consolidated, energy consumption dashboard, is possible, right? And gives a lot of benefits to the consumers to help manage their energy consumption. So you can see, how a smart home energy package can, quickly, earn its investments back for the consumer. So, another way to monetize smart home is, of course, to partner with insurance companies. It's an interesting use case, right? With your smoke, water leak, and, carbon monoxide detectors, right? It can help make the consumer's home more safe and prevent home damage. And, of course, leading to reduce insurance claims. Of course, same goes for your security and monitoring package, right? With your video cameras and door and window sensors. That will lead to less break-ins and less burglary, and obviously leading to less insurance claims. And I was talking to one of my colleagues in South Africa the other day, and he was giving me this interesting use case where, in Africa, these water geysers are bursting, right? And for example, creating, home damage, water home damage in people's houses, and of course, leading also to a lot of insurance claims. So, this is why insurance companies are interested to work with telcos on some of these smart insurance use cases. And there are examples of disruptive insurance companies working with telcos on, some of these use cases and offering reduced insurance rates bundled, with telco smart home solutions. And also here, right, revenue share can be explored with these insurance companies. So the last example I want to highlight today is an interesting one. Is our senior monitoring solution, right? It's with the aging population and the need for helping our senior family members and senior citizens to continue to live independently is becoming a key requirement, right? And smart home, can help by monitoring the well-being of these senior members. You can enable features like fall detection and real-time medical alerts, for example. But you see an overview of some of the things that are possible. And you can even think of extending this monitoring solution with GPS location tracking for people with dementia, for example. Right. So, of course, this use case is not as straightforward as some of the others, since healthcare is a very specific market, and that requires specialized expertise from healthcare and wellness experts. And also, of course, it requires the trust and confidence of these consumers, right, to buy something like this from a telco. So, but what we are seeing is, consumers are starting to open up for this smart home use case. So the need is definitely developing in the market out there. And also here, this is a perfect, I would say, example where, a potential partnership, makes sense between telco and healthcare companies.
Very good, Anil. Very interesting cases. And now I wanted to see what's Radisys' approach for all those cases you were mentioning. What do you have to offer to specific service providers that want to actually monetize a smart home?
Thanks, Mariana. So yeah, we spoke about the market trends, the entry barriers, the opportunities for telco smart home, and also gave some examples how telcos can monetize them. So in this slide, what we want to do is explain what Radisys is doing in the telco smart home space and how we can help. So Radisys offers an end-to-end smart home solution, and that is designed and built with keeping the telco requirements in mind. And we embrace an open device ecosystem, so we are able to offer a broad range of devices of the best-in-class brands. And we work closely with these leading device vendors to qualify and test them as part of our end-to-end solution. And this approach enables our customers to implement all these use cases we spoke about before, and even more. And with the Radisys Smart Home platform, you have the flexibility to begin with one use case and add, other use cases later on using, the same gateway, the same app, and, the software platform. And the software platform can run on a public cloud, right, giving the service providers a low entry barrier and to get started with smart home very quickly. But if required, it can also run on the telco's own private data center or private cloud. So Radisys offers flexible business models for telcos to reduce, upfront costs. Our smart home software and app, are available as a service and are competitively priced, on a pay-as-you-grow model. And the devices and sensors from our approved vendor list can be purchased by the telcos directly with these vendors. So this keeps the supply chain lean, and of course, this also then, keeps the upfront cost as low as possible. So we also seen that service providers are looking, for a partner, right, that can help them along the smart home journey. And, we want to be that partner and consultant, and working side by side with the service provider to define the right use case, the bundles for your specific market. And Radisys has a long history working with service providers and ISPs globally as a system integrator for multiple solutions in fixed broadband and mobile access networks. And we can help our customers with the overall smart home solution integration, and even with the sales and support training to ensure excellent end customer experience. And also, brokering, for example, these go-to-market partnerships on some of these examples we mentioned earlier, right, with the insurance and security companies, for example. Also, the OMDIA research shows that consumers are concerned about smart home security, privacy, and hacking risk, right, by cyber criminals. So at Radisys, we've implemented several layers of data security, authentication, and access controls to make sure your consumer data is protected and safe. So we'll give you a couple of examples, right? We've implemented secure boot, right? That will prevent hackers from tampering with the smart home gateway, avoiding that, malware can be installed on the gateway itself. And the communication, between the smart home gateway and all the other elements is protected by certificates, right, that are securely stored on the hardware, and making it very hard for hackers to reverse engineer it. And on top of that, all communication with the encrypted, is encrypted with software keys as well. And we do periodic software integrity checks, right, to check if there's any, malware that is active on the platform. And then obviously the whole, smart home solution is secured by access controls, right? So making sure only, rightful users get access to the system. So as you can see, right, safety and data security, privacy, has been designed in from day one, and definitely not as an afterthought. So the Radisys Smart Home solution, as I mentioned earlier, is built for telcos and ISPs. We integrated with the service providers, OSS, BSS, backend systems, and network environment. The smart home software platform can run on a public cloud, but also on the own, telco private cloud, for example. And we heard the message from the telcos loud and clear that the cost entry barrier must be as low as possible. And as we indicated earlier, we offer flexible business models, to achieve some of these lower upfront costs. So the smart home, can be a very interesting revenue stream for service providers and ISPs. And, we at Radisys are here to help you in every step.
Very good, Anil. It's a very good summary of all the capabilities Radisys has to offer, and I would like to move on now into the conclusion. But before that, just as a reminder, if you have questions, please submit them. We will answer them just after the conclusion slide, so you have time. And let's move on. And I wanted to share with you in this final slide a summary of the main recommendations, and obviously for service providers that want to monetize the smart home. We have seen today that to succeed in the smart home space, service providers need to develop a business model that can actually reduce the barriers to market entry. We mentioned and highlighted all of them, and this means that, for example, lowering initial costs while offering obviously an attractive product and service proposition that can serve multiple use cases. That's strategic here. In the same way, we have highlighted the need to reduce the complexity of the purchase process. That's important. This means obviously helping customers to understand more about the smart home benefits. They're clear, but they obviously need encouragement there, while obviously making it easier for them to buy smart home products and services with obviously greater commercial flexibility. And finally, to gain traction in the smart home industry and navigate all the different challenges we have analyzed today in this webinar, it is crucial for service providers to make continual progress. This is an ongoing thing. Smart home is constantly evolving, so that requires service providers to pay attention to their business models, to their partner ecosystem, to the technology they use, the innovation, obviously the user experience. So the change should be constant. Okay, very good. So these are my main conclusions and recommendations for today. So we will move on to the Q&A. Very good. So let me prepare and see all the questions from the audience. We have loads of questions. Let me just check. Obviously, you have more time to send questions while we answer them. So let's start. Anil, I have one for you. It says, is the Radisys solution Matter standard compatible? What's the plan going forward?
No, thanks, Mariana. Good question. So currently it's not, but it's in the roadmap. and our, let's say, RF component is going to be Matter compatible and certified later this year, and as the standards also gets rectified.
Okay, so it's ready. That's an important thing.
Yes.
Very good. Let me see another question. Do you recommend a public cloud deployment or a private cloud deployment? It says, how long would it take to deploy the full smart home service?
Yeah, so that is interesting question. It really depends, right? So what we recommend for service providers who want to quickly start with as low upfront cost as possible, right? Is start with the public cloud deployment, right? You can start quickly without investing in your own infrastructure, and as the services scale, you can then look at, for example, migrating it to your own private infrastructure, right? To keep the cost then under control. So I think it really depends. We've seen several, I would say, examples. Some service providers say, look, I want to do this in day one, from day one in my own environment. But I would say if you really want to start new and test, if this is something, test your market, I would say go with the public cloud deployment to kickstart the deployment. And also from I would say the time to take to deploy, I would say, or integrate with the public cloud. Of course, it's quicker. I would say roughly depends, of course, in all kinds of integration things you want to do is roughly from 1 month for public cloud. And we've seen, integration examples for, about 3 months if you want to do it, in your own private environment. And of course, you want to do it then also the OSS, BSS integration part as well.
Okay. I have another question here, but I think it's related to what you just mentioning about private cloud. Is cloud storage mandatory for camera feeds? What alternative mechanisms can be used for that?
Yeah, no, so you can store the video, surveillance data, of course, on the phone itself. That option is there, even on the, the camera, that currently have these SD cards. But, I'm not sure if that is something that some people want to do. But even, you can store it on the gateway itself, right? So I would say there are many options for the consumers to choose from, and depending, where you feel most comfortable with, right? I would say that that option is there.
Yeah, I guess that flexibility is essential. You need to give customers that choice as well, so it's important.
Yeah.
I have a question, and that's for me because it talks about the industry and the impact of COVID-19 in the smart home industry. Well, we are spending more and more time at home, and that definitely has increased the amount of devices we bring to our homes, the amount of time we spend in front of screens and interacting with those gadgets. So it's unfortunate, but the COVID-19 is very good for the smart home industry in many different ways. It has validated the use of these devices. It has allowed people to understand the benefits, especially for key applications. I think healthcare, assisted living, monitoring solutions, I don't know, doorbells, for example. Just obviously people are buying more and more things online, and the use of doorbells has skyrocketed. So that's good. Cameras, different solutions, smart thermostats as well. So it's COVID-19 has had a very good result in terms of adoption. It has bring more people to understand, as I said, the benefits. So it's good news. The thing is, the key here is to try to monetize more services on top of those devices, create recurring revenue. So the key, it's around those applications that we were seeing today in this presentation, to look not only security as an important use case, but also look at other applications that are key and they have great potential. As I said, COVID-19 is in a way pushing them forward. Very good. hope that answers the question from the audience. Let me check. Another question here we have. What benefits does a security provider get by partnering with a telco and Radisys? So all this alliance, what do you think, Anil? What's the other benefits?
It's basically, so what we've seen in certain markets, right, like security companies are going after the high-end market. And so I would say this offers, a complementary market reach for the security companies, right? And, basically allowing, kind of leveraging the infrastructure and the technology that, an ISP or a telco can provide, right, to, reach a much broader customer base. And of course, for the telco, it's also interesting because, as you can start leveraging some of these partnerships, right, to offer more advanced security monitoring packages, and as I said earlier, also might explore revenue share, opportunities.
Okay, very good. Here I have another question. If you were a startup telco, how would you build credibility / relevance in the smart home market? What do you think? I have my opinion, but I want to know yours first. So how do you build this credibility?
Look, I think it's what we've seen is, so for example, for the ISPs, they already have a good customer base, right, with their broadband access customers. And so they provide, the pipe, the technology. And, if you're able to build on top, right, offer, for example, bundled offerings as, for a small premium, offer certain smart home use cases, right, you have that trust, that relationship already, right, with your customers. So I think it's, easy for service providers to build on top of their existing customer base. And I think, we also seen the reports, right, service providers continuously looking for new revenue streams, right, to, increase their ARPUs, right. So this is definitely, also I would say, based on your research, Mariana, right, the need is definitely there, right, and it's definitely, you could say there's a lot of competition, but the need is there, and I think it's interesting for the service providers. There are definitely some untapped revenue streams out there for the service providers to look into.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what your opinion is, Mariana. Or, yeah.
Well, the key here is to show you're offering value. When you look at the different propositions in the market, you see some telcos reselling devices, but that's not all of it. You need to offer value on top of those devices. You need to go to market with a service, an attractive service proposition. So I think it's key for a startup to differentiate. You do have big players, Amazon and Google, they have great devices, but when it comes to services, they rely on the functionality of their products. But for proper services, they need to go to a partner. A telco here has a great advantage. It's already present at home. And creating an attractive proposition that it's not only relying on devices, but on the service component, I think that's essential. And something relevant, we've seen use cases that are relevant these days. Elderly monitoring. I know it could be a niche market for many people. It's a bit complex in terms of, because it requires lots of consultative sales, but it's straightforward. People understand and want to take care of their loved ones. They want to know how their relatives are doing, and not being able to access information. Or, for example, the boom in video conferencing, for example, video calls. Those things rely on smart displays. So creating a proposition around those devices, that would be key. And in here, telcos need to be smart to create those services and to position them in a way that clearly differentiates them from OTT players. Because the OTT players, yes, as I said, have the devices, but you cannot just rely on the features. You need to obviously go ahead with more. So that's
one thing I would like to add there, Yeah, one thing I'd like to add, Mariana, to that is, so one of the focus areas for us is the emerging markets, right, for this with smart home. And there we see that, the OTT players are definitely not present there, right? So it's really, I would say, for the telcos and ISPs and an interesting market, right, to capture the consumers that, have that need and basically do not have an alternative today. So.
Yeah. They need to create an alternative. There's another question about pet services, pet trackers. I do include different solutions when I track the smart home space. GPS trackers, it's an important service. We have not mentioned that, but that's another interesting application these days. Lots of people are keen on investing on their pets, so to know their whereabouts, not only about loved ones, but also the little ones there as well. So yes, that's an important application. What I've seen in the market is many telcos partnering with important brands. So they go to market with branded solutions, and they try to offer something that it's unique to them, GPS tracking services. And the they have a unique proposition there, and they're trying to leverage. So that's another application that I've seen in the market, just to answer one of the questions. It says, if we can elaborate more on cybersecurity services for connected devices, what kind of service that might be? Let's say a smart lock. So what's your view on cybersecurity services, Anil?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, as Radisys, we've put a lot of thought and energy in making sure, the solution, security and privacy is designed in from day one. So it's basically, standard part of our solution. So it's not something that, we offer as an additional, let's say, service. It's, it's kind of, say, table stakes for us, right? Otherwise, especially, working with telcos, this is something that, security is a #1 priority.
Okay, very good. Another question here, which monthly services can telco offer to further monetize the deployment of smart home base apart from cloud storage and monitoring? So probably that's the other type of applications you were mentioning, from insurance, elderly monitoring. So that those other use cases are very important. What other, you mentioned energy, for example. What do you have in mind when you think?
No, exactly right.
Energy.
So if you're able to, holistically track the energy consumption of consumers at home and, identify some of these trends, right, and proactively identify, hey, which devices or clients are starting to really use more energy, and, you be able to monitor that and provide that, data analytics. I think that is definitely something, with the form of a dashboard, definitely something telcos can look at monetizing. And then the other day was, this is of course more of a business to business use case, but I was talking to a partner in Latin America, and they were, basically looking at, smart kitchen, use cases, for example, right, where restaurants, have to make sure their food is kept fresh, and they have to show that also, right, that over a period of time, a certain temperature is being maintained of the food, also for regulatory reasons. So very interesting use case there, where if you're able to do that with smart sensors, right, collect that, aggregate that data, provide that with a dashboard, right, and those are some very interesting, let's say, use cases that I think are kind of still untapped. But then, as I mentioned, it's the data coming from the sensors and devices. I think that is something to be looked at, right? It's something that I truly feel that there is a lot more things that can be done and can be monetized, and even with and compared, of course, you can resell an OTT solution, but you, as a telco, then you will not have these abilities to monetize some of that data yourself. And I think that is what is interesting, with telco smart home going forward.
Okay, that's very good. We have more questions, but we'll answer them by email. Thank you very much for all the audience and for these wonderful questions. So we appreciate that very much. Thanks to you, Alan.
Thank you, Mariana.
Thank you.
And I'll kind of wrap us up here. So thanks all for attending our webinar today, for participating, submitting all your questions and comments. As Mariana suggested, that there were a lot of questions coming in. So our panel will follow up with you after this webinar concludes. I do want to thank Mariana for leading our discussion today, and a special thank you to Anil as well for this very in-depth presentation. So an archived version of this webinar will be made available shortly. In fact, we'll be sending you a link on how you can access that archive. Come back, view this session again, even share it with your colleagues. Now, a survey is going to pop up at the conclusion of our webinar, so please take a few moments to complete that. We'd appreciate that very much. And continue to follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn for information on future webinars from OMDIA, brought to you by Informatech. So again, thank you for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.